What's going on, Jerome's ESPN? Well, now ESPN's Pete Schrager, Schragerbaum, released his one-round mock draft, and so Schrager's super dialed in to the NFL. And again, mock drafts are what people hear, and big boards are what people see in terms of like scouting and all that stuff. So Schrager super dialed in, has some insight on what these teams could potentially do, and there's some interesting things here, especially with the Vikings. I'm kind of rooting for this pick at 24 because I want chaos, man. I do. So Cam Ward at 1, Hunter 2, Abdul Carter 3. Pretty common 1, 2, 3. Will Campbell to the Patriots, Ashton Genty to the Jaguars. I think that's his floor. I think if the Bears or the Raiders want Genty, they're going to have to trade up past the Jaguars to go get him. Mambu to the Raiders, Tyler Warren to the Jets, Jalon Walker to the Panthers, Michael going to the Saints, back-to-back Joja. The Colts trade up to 10, go up and get Colston Loveland because Warren's off the board. Loveland, I don't know, I think Loveland could potentially take a dip, but if he goes up here, it's perfectly fine. So the Colts get a playmaker for Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones. Walter Nolan to the 49ers. Now, I feel like a lot of mocks generally have had Walter Nolan down, sometimes even out of the first round or at the bottom of the first, but Nolan's potential sky high. And the San Francisco 49ers have to rebuild that defensive line. So there you go. Tyler Booker to the Cowboys. I think this one makes sense. So Booker goes before Jackson and or Zabel in terms of interior offensive line. But Booker, so you could say, well, it's testing numbers, blah, blah, blah. All I know is that he mauls every defensive player put in front of him. That's exactly what happens. And he's a good kid, good dude off the field. And I think that he's going to be great with this Cowboys offensive line. Annoyingly good. Mason Graham falls to the Dolphins. They didn't really replace Christian Wilkins last year, so Graham is going to be that. Calvin Banks. So the Bears are able to trade back with the Colts and still get Calvin Banks. Also, like I said, I think the Calvin Banks hate amongst the draft community. I don't get it. 3-year starter at left tackle, started as a true freshman in Austin, blue chip program every single week going up against NFL edge rushers. I don't get it, man. Hadi Campbell to the Falcons. I think this one makes a lot of sense because they need to solidify the middle of that defense, and Campbell does that. Also, he's plus as a pass rusher as well. Then you got the Cardinals, Jahdae Barron. That's kind of fun. I mean, Barron is a bit of a jack of all trades, cornerback, probably going to be best utilized as a big slot. The Pride of Texas hook him. Go get it. Bengals getting Mike Green. They need some semblance of production on defense from the rookie contract guys, and also this could take the sting out of losing Hendrickson. There you go. Seahawks, Gray Zabel. I feel like this one is starting to become a fait accompli. Like it might not be an issue for the Vikings at 24. Tet goes to the Buccaneers. Tet offensive. So it's funny because all the Mike Evans comps, now Tet just goes there to play with Mike Evans. Agbuka goes to the Broncos. Shador to the Steelers. Kenneth Grant goes to the Michigan, Michigan Redux. He reunites with Harbaugh with the Chargers. Harbaugh loves Kenneth Grant, by the way. Absolutely raves bomb. The Packers actually take a receiver, Matthew Golden. So all the Packers fans at the draft are going to cream in their jeans. Now, the Vikings take Amari Hampton. So that's super interesting because Will Johnson's still on the board. Now, Will Johnson falls all the way to frickin' Detroit, which I know teams are concerned about his straight line speed, about his toe, but I don't know. Malachi Starks goes to the Bills. Pearson Harrison, I make it too. Also, what's interesting is that the Donovan Jackson goes in the first round. A lot of mocks don't see it that way. So Tyler Booker and Donovan Jackson go, and also it could be a spot too, because Booker was is a draft invitee of the 17 there. So obviously the NFL consensus is a lot higher than the the draft Twitter consensus. So the Vikings at 24, we just sort of skimmed over it. But Amari Hampton, running back, North Carolina. Now, Hampton has been a draft crush of mine, and that was before the Vikings re-signed Aaron Jones to a 2-year deal. That was before they traded for Jordan Mason, gave him a 2-year deal. But if you're going true BPA, as opposed to just drafting for need, Hampton could be legit. Here's what Pete wrote. The Vikings have needs elsewhere and wouldn't list running back as a clear hole on their roster, but if Hampton is on the board, he'd be a wonderful addition to a young core that the organization hopes can grow together. And that's absolutely true. And Amari Hampton, battering ram, man. He is, man. Back-to-back 1,500-plus yard rushing seasons, 15 rushing touchdown seasons, had 38 catches for 373 and 2 last year as a receiver, and he is a sort of like a throwback, old-school power running back, something I kind of love. His NFL.com scouting profile from Lance Zierlein. High volume battering ram with a 3-ingredient recipe of size, strength, and aggression. Hampton is a linear runner, tackling, lacking creativity and wiggle, but once the gas is engaged, he runs like a downhill truck whose brake lines have been cut. He has the base, balance, and power to batter tacklers and reignite runs after contact, but he fails to recognize alternative run lanes that offer easier paths and more yardage. He needs to work on his pass protection, but can create positive plays on swing passes and screens. Hampton is a tone-setting future starter who can handle a heavy workload, but he absorbs rare levels of heavy contact that could create durability or longevity issues if he doesn't learn to pick and choose his battles. And this is a bit like a watered-down version of Adrian Peterson at number 7 back in the day, because you did have Chester Taylor, who was a 1,000-yard rusher. And the Vikings, 2-year deals for Jones, a 2-year deal for Mason, and I think that stylistically, even though Mason and Hampton have a lot of crossover, I think that Mason is perfectly suited for outside zone. Hampton is perfectly suited for man and gap. So the Vikings, they really want to get back to running the ball effectively. I think that this could be a really fun running back by committee, where you have early down between the tackle work with Mason and Hampton. Also some red zone work with Hampton as well. If you're just running power, just run up the gut, all stot up the gut, as well as Aaron Jones out there as a third down back, satellite back. I mean, it certainly could go a lot worse, but I understand. There's other needs, and Harmon didn't even get picked in the first round. Will Johnson was sitting on the board chilling. But I think overall, if you're dedicated to going true blue BPA, Hampton certainly could be in that mix. And I think that eventually he will be the Vikings RB1, and just getting horses back there where the Vikings, they're dedicated. They want to be dedicated to run the ball, and they want to get better than 26, 24th, and 26 in terms of yards per carry. I think that Hampton would be just so much fun with the revamped offensive line, just really getting back to the power game with Mason and Jones. And remember, like I said, Jones turns 31 in December. We'll see what happens to that 2-year deal, and Mason's deal is only 2 years as well. So it could be Hampton time a lot sooner rather than later, but you never know. Anyways, your thoughts are thoughts. Pete Schrager, ESPN, did up his mock draft of what he's hearing. Vikings, Amari and Hampton at 24. Ooh, power for days. Let us know your thoughts, our thoughts, his thoughts, comment section. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skol, production value.